Greetings, everyone. GleeCon is here again, bringing you another episode of Lore of Warcraft, and I thank you so much for tuning in. So, after another fun week in life in the world, where at the beginning of the week we dropped an episode of continuing to plow through Feralis with our Alliance character, and we'll get back to that on the very next episode. I'll be dropping that later on in the same day that I dropped this episode. I also continued with some of the Patreon stuff, so if you like what you see here and you want to check out the same kinds of experiences for Assassin's Creed, I usually drop at least one episode a week for the Assassin's Creed experience, Lore of Assassin's Creed. We're playing through Assassin's Creed Bloodlines right now. We are almost done. I'm probably about 80% of the way done with that game, and I'll finish that one on the very next episode that I make. In this show, and in that show, what I do is I try to play through every quest in the game and do every little line of dialogue. Nothing like, there's no minutia too small. So if it's the stinking repeatable hippogriff egg quests in Tanaris that have barely anything different in the dialogue and almost zero contribution to the lore, we still do it. I also go through every little piece of obscure material out of the game too. So that might be all of the novels that we've read, but it can also include looking through like the old vintage Dungeons and Dragons source books that are tied to this game, or WoW magazine, World of Warcraft magazine that Blizzard released like 5 issues of back in the BlizzCon days, and immediately went defunct. So we do it all, and we also do all of the in-game lore, and that's what today is all about. So stay a while and listen as we take an old friend of ours, Erator. We are in the middle of a classic era long play completionist playthrough, but it's our second iteration of that. We wasted probably 6 months at least trying to do that with every single character before the redundancy drove me into the ground, and instead we revamped and just did one horde and one alliance, so we try to kind of cover everything else in between on separate episodes. Once I realized there's very, very little class quests, so there was no real need to do it. Most of them are redundant versions of the same thing, and we can kind of get the gist if we cover them. It's not worth the time and effort to make entire other characters. Although from time to time, I'm sure I could, if I wanted to, as a side project later on, come back and do some of them. I would be okay with that. And we did most of them up until about level 30, and that really covers all of them anyway. So if you want to go back and check the old videos, it does contain all of those. The only thing that we'd be missing is the Sunken Temple quests at level 50 that all of them have, and any epic gear quests tied to the raids, which I don't know that those are really super specific. But we also go and find the in-game lore, which is what we're doing today. So there's a book called The Sentinels and the Long Vigil is what we're going to read today. There's 2 spots you can find this. You can find it on Feathermoon Isle if you're Alliance, and I almost did that because we are in Feralis, and we actually could have just taken our character, who is probably right there, and done it, and I'm now realizing how silly it was that I didn't do it that way. But that's okay. Or you can find it here in Booty Bay. Those are the only 2 spots in the game. We'll find it on the next episode. I'll just show it for fun as a little aside on the next one. But this one is a little tricky to find if you go for the one in Booty Bay. So there is a building downstairs with Seawolf McKinley. If you kind of go under, you can kind of see in this house, the quest giver Seawolf McKinley is right there. The book is actually upstairs, but the only way to get to it is to go upstairs around here, or go up in this building, come around and walk your way through to access the upstairs. So it took me a little bit of time to find. I actually had to look at comments on Wowpedia. All right, and without any further ado, we're going to take... And this is our old character, Erator. He was our original Ret Pally. I don't know why I like Ret Pally so much, even though they're generally underperforming. But let's read The Sentinels and the Long Vigil. This is also the last lore video, that in-game lore video we're going to be doing for a good, probably 3 weeks. So... I'll miss you guys on that one. I'll put a couple more long plays out in the meantime, but then it'll be on summer hiatus while I go globe-trotting. With the departure of their wayward cousins, the Night Elves turn their attention back to the safekeeping of their enchanted homeland. The druids, sensing that their time of hibernation was drawing near, prepared to sleep and leave their loved ones and families behind. Tyrande, who had become the High Priestess of Elune, asked her love Malfurion not to leave her for Ysera's Emerald Dream, but Malfurion, honor-bound to enter the changing dreamways, bid the priestess farewell and swore that they would never be apart, so long as they held true to their love. Yes, we will always be together, my dear, as long as you just don't cheat on me, and pinky promise I won't do the same when I'm zipping around the Emerald Dreamways. Left alone to protect Kalimdor from the dangers of the New World, Tyrande assembled a powerful fighting force from amongst her Night Elf sisters. The fearless, highly trained warrior women who pledged themselves to Kalimdor's defense became known as the Sentinels. Though they preferred to patrol the shadowy forests of Ashenvale on their own, they had many allies upon which they could call in times of urgency. The demigod Cenarius remained nearby in the moonglades of Mount Hygel. His sons, known as the Keepers of the Grove, kept close watch on the Night Elves and regularly helped the Sentinels maintain peace in the land. Even Cenarius' shy daughters, the Dryads, appeared in the open with increasing frequency. The task of policing Ashenvale kept Tyrande busy, but without Malfurion at her side, she knew little joy. As the long centuries passed while the druids slept, her fears of a second demonic invasion grew. She could not shake the unnerving feeling that the Burning Legion might still be out there, beyond the great dark of the sky, plotting its revenge upon the Night Elves and the world of Azeroth. Okay, and so I guess that's the Long Vigil. I assumed this was going to be more about the guards guarding, not Malfurion, Illidan, and instead what it is actually about is what happens in the kingdom here. So they have Darnassus, which is sort of kind of a new home for them, because originally Mount Hygel here was their home. But they've moved out and resettled in Darnassus with a second world tree. Darkshore is another one of their lands, but it's pretty strong. And then Ashenvale is a real contested land as it butts up against Horde territory. They have also the Fellwood, which is another borderland, and this is where the demonic influence is really going to kick off, and that's actually the zone I'm going to start prepping off camera today, and we will get to that in a few weeks when I'm back from the trip and we've wrapped up both versions of Veralis and Maraudon, and I have some good stories about Maraudon that I can talk about on our next episode. But you know, for now we have another story wrapped up and another episode in the Pipe 5x5. Peace.